So much for that quadruple, eh? But I keep reiterating, it could be worse. You could support Spurs or Chelsea. Elsewhere, Real Madrid keep their title hopes alive. And we got Jorginho versus Chappell Roan in the big 2026. This is DMac Daily. You know what? I thought Drogba was the king of Wembley. When he stepped foot onto that specific pitch, it may as well have been over already. But it appears that there's an even more decisive figure at this iconic ground in Kepa Arrizabalaga, a man who infamously refused to be substituted in a Carabao Cup final back in 2019 before losing on penalties. Then 3 years later, another Carabao Cup final. On that fateful day, Kepa was unable to save 11 penalties in a shootout before skying his own to hand Liverpool the trophy. And in 2026, the three-peat has been complete. Arteta made the risky call to reward Kepa with a start in the final, and it has inevitably backfired, as the Spaniard's calamitous error gifted Nico O'Reilly the opener before he then doubled City's advantage 4 minutes later, with City going on to comfortably prevail at Wembley 2-0. Another disastrous day for Kepa, ending Arsenal's ambitious pursuit of a quadruple. Now, Kepa has understandably come under fire for this latest blunder, but I do think more accountability is required from Arsenal as a collective, because bar the first 6 minutes or so where Trafford pulls off an incredible triple save, Arsenal showed little to no attacking threat for the remainder of the match. City weren't incredible, but they were the marginally better side and eventually took their chances. It only reinforces this bizarre contradiction that exists within Arsenal's team, that they are objectively having a phenomenal season with a world-class backline, a world-class midfield duo, but with an otherwise average forward line. Gyökeres, their supposed talisman, has the most goal involvements this campaign for Arsenal with just 18 in 46 games. Now, that's not terrible by any means, but I can't think of any great treble winning, let alone quadruple winning sides that didn't possess an abundance of firepower going forward. They say a world-class defense wins you titles, but quadruples, that's a different story. So all in all, it's not really surprising that Arsenal's attacking options didn't show up again in the biggest moment of their season thus far, because they're ultimately inconsistent. That being said, you gotta give credit to Pep and his side. They made a conscious effort to not press Arsenal when they were in possession at the back, which only exposed just how risk-averse Arteta's mentality actually is. Arsenal had a total unwillingness to play a more expansive approach, because in order to do so, they would have risked City potentially catching them on the break with their pacey wingers and creative playmakers. So City, for a lot of this game, actually stayed in second gear. It's why they only made one substitution throughout the match, in a cup final no less. That's crazy. Now, it wasn't the most thrilling game, but Shecky certainly entertained at times with some mazy dribbles, and then at 2-0, the showboating began, doing keepy-uppies with 25 minutes to play. Sure, the obnoxious English pundits will claim it's entirely disrespectful, but I personally love it. Its personality, its confidence, it's the audacity of it all. The showmanship of any sort is sorely lacking in the English game. Shecky's exuberant antics ought to be cherished, unless you're an Arsenal fan, that is. So Pep takes home his 5th Carabao Cup trophy, the first manager to do so, whilst Arteta's Arsenal remain without a major trophy since 2020. It's a painful day for the Gunners, but for the travelling citizens, this contest will be remembered for years to come. Speaking of travelling, and despite the fact that I follow football obsessively, I'm not always watching from the comfort of my own home. Yes, believe it or not, guys, I do occasionally go outside. And that's where NordVPN has come in clutch for me. When I'm traveling abroad and using public Wi-Fi in airports, hotels, or cafes, I just open the NordVPN app, tap connect, and instantly my internet connection is encrypted and secure. It genuinely takes seconds. NordVPN also lets you bypass region locks, which means you can still safely log in and access the football streaming and entertainment services you normally use back home. So if you're traveling but still want to keep up with the games, it's incredibly useful. Another feature I personally like is Threat Protection Pro, which helps block malicious websites, trackers, and sketchy downloads before they ever reach your device. So even when you're browsing on unfamiliar networks, you've got an extra layer of protection running in the background. So whether you're traveling for work, on holiday, or or following your club away from home, NordVPN helps keep you connected to the football world while staying secure online. And right now, if you use my link on screen, nordvpn.com/DMac, you'll get a huge discount on the 2-year plan, which includes an extra 4 months completely free, all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for, guys? Try out the fastest VPN service on the planet today. Thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Staying in English football and Spurs, yeah, let's just pack it up. You're actually done for here in what was their own cup final equivalent for the season, a game of immeasurably high stakes. I mean, just look at the atmosphere their own fans tried to generate in the build-up to this game. All that just for Spurs to suffer another spectacular 3-0 defeat at home to fellow relegation battlers Nottingham Forest. That draw away at Anfield and the defeat of Atletico Madrid midweek now feels a distant memory, because this latest capitulation came to reality in all too familiar circumstances, starting out positive, missing gilt-edged chances before conceding, and conceding again, and conceding again. Understand, we are now on the precipice of the total opposite of what Leicester achieved, the greatest miracle relegation drop in football history. It's truly staggering stuff. Granted, West Ham fell away to Villa, so Spurs are still 1 point above the relegation zone, but they haven't won in 13 Premier League outings now. They have the worst home record in the entire league, double-digit home defeats. Look at the remaining games that Tottenham and West Ham now face. Genuinely, I'm more confident in Nuno's West Ham battling their way to a couple of decent results than I am of Spurs doing so. I think Tudor will be lucky to survive the international break. But can they even be saved at this point? It is just so dire. Moving slightly up the table, and okay, it's not Spurs level bad, but damn, Chelsea are cooked right now. Their latest battering, this time at Everton, sees them lose 4 on the bounce for the first time since 1993. I wasn't even alive the last time that happened. It's also the second time in the space of a week where I've seen my own club 3-0 down, with Rosinha manically taking notes like he's some sort of footballing professor. The optics are abysmal. Cole Palmer looks a shadow of his former self. Robert Sanchez is going back to his bozo former self. But to be honest, you could say the same for like 99% of this squad. The lack of leadership and characters within this dressing room is depressing. 3-0 down, what a strike by Iliman Ndiaye, by the way. But as I said, 3-0 down, everyone stood lifeless, deflated, with Esteval running back to pick the ball up and place it on the halfway line. An 18-year-old, fresh from Brazil, is trying to rally this depleted group. There's no one else there. Where's the leadership at this club? I've been slandering BlueCo and their strategy for years now, so I should be feeling some semblance of validation seeing it all evidently crumble in front of our eyes, but that's not what I feel. I'm just numb to the gross overspending and reactionary decision-making that has taken this club backwards. Thankfully, Liverpool are keeping our hopes alive somehow, because they're just as atrocious. £450 million well spent, am I right? Deservedly beaten by Brighton at the Amex, as Villa go 5 points clear in 4th place. At this point, anyone inside the top 12 could legit finish inside that top 5. It is all to play for at this point. Imagine if freshly promoted Sunderland reached Europe. I certainly wouldn't rule them out. They just beat fierce rivals Newcastle at St. James's Park. Separate note, shout out to Luciano Gatruda, who continued to play today despite being racially abused by Newcastle fans. This is nothing new. Shameful stuff in the English game. Switching gears to La Liga, and what a derby that was in the Spanish capital. Real Madrid have kept their title ambitions intact following a 3-2 victory over city rivals Atletico Madrid. This game had it all. Screamers, clutch moments, red cards, you name it. I thought Lookman's goal to open the scoring was classy, but then after Madrid turned things around thanks to a pen from Vini Jr. and another big goal from Valverde, Molina goes boom once again from 35 yards out. The second time in the space of a week that Molina has hit a literal Puskás contender goal. Bro, where has this come from? No keeper on earth is saving either of those strikes. Just look at the reaction from teammate Simeone today. He couldn't believe what he just witnessed. But that stunning individual moment would be somewhat pushed aside 5 minutes later as Vini Jr. stepped up with a brilliant strike of his own to go 3-2 up. Believe it or not, Vini Jr. had never scored against Atletico in La Liga prior to today. But today's brace from the Brazilian got them over the line, just like it did midweek in the UCL. Vini is finding top form now under Arbeloa when it matters most. I'll admit I was surprised to see the mixed reaction to Valverde's red card. To me, it seemed pretty clear-cut, but nonetheless, Los Blancos held on to secure the 3 points. Bellingham and Mbappe also returned to the fold. So I guess the vibes are good again in Madrid. We'll see how long that lasts. Meanwhile, in Barcelona, it was a mixed day at the office. The positives, they won 1-0. 3 points is what matters most in an ongoing title race, but there were a lot of problems today. Rafinha missed several clear-cut chances. Yamal was also relatively quiet. In the end, a rare goal from Araujo would be the difference maker, but had it not been for the heroics of Joan Garcia, this would have been a drastically different scoreline. This guy is their most clutch player, making 4 crucial saves today to deny Rayo from equalizing. He's been doing this all season. Barca are not a great team, defensively speaking. That's not a controversial statement. They just have, in my opinion, the best goalkeeper in Europe right now. If they are to have any hope of making a serious run in the UCL or winning La Liga, they will depend on the excellence of Garcia. Moving to the Serie A, and I think I spoke too soon when I said the title race is surely wrapped up, as Inter have dropped points for their 3rd straight game, this time away at Fiorentina. Cher Andor's late equalizer stunning Kivu's side, as rivals Milan scraped past Torino 3-2 in a crazy encounter. Pavlovic with a goal of the season contender, whilst Rabiot was back in the side and scoring. It wasn't a convincing display by any means, but having narrowly prevailed, the margin at the top is now reduced to 6 points. I still don't think Milan are going to be good enough, but that Bodo defeat for Inter seems to have deflated their morale all of a sudden. Anything's now possible. Meanwhile, Fabregas's Como continue to stun in Italy, winning their 5th straight game in what was a 5-star performance. All their stars turned on the style. Diao, Duvicas, Baturina, Paz, and Peroni. This side seems destined for the Champions League, one of the most exciting football projects in all of Europe. Everything is now clicking for Fabregas's men. They're also 1 game shy of a cup final too. Do not sleep on the continual rise of Como. Meanwhile, it was business as usual in both Germany and France. Kane, Elise, and co cooking up a comfortable 4-0 win for Bayern Munich. 9 points clear with 7 games to play. Meanwhile, PSG remain on top with a game in hand. Lens temporarily took back top spot with a 5-1 thumping of Angers, but a largely rested PSG side would then inflict a hammering of their own on the road to Nice, as Dro Fernandez opened his account for the Parisian Giants. Post-international break, a potential title decider is on the cards. Obviously, Lens are the drastic underdogs. These two teams are in different financial realities, but as the home side in this matchup, they'll be backing themselves. And considering this match is sandwiched between PSG's UCL tie with Liverpool, who's to say Lens can't pull off another miracle? It's still highly unlikely that Lens will win the league, but we can only dream. And to close out today's episode, we got ourselves a story I certainly didn't have on my bingo card for 2026. To be honest, I thought the whole Neymar Rooney discourse was ridiculous last week, but this is something else. American musician Chappell Roan has come under fire in Brazil following a dispute with none other than Jorginho. Let me explain. Now, Jorginho posted on social media a couple days back claiming that the artist's security guard made his stepdaughter cry, having encountered her at her hotel. Jorginho claims the security guard spoke to both his wife and daughter in an extremely aggressive manner. According to the Flamengo player, all his daughter did was walk past her table and smile, to which the hostility then ensued. Sometime after, a supposed Instagram story was posted of Chappell Roan responding, but that turned out to be fake. However, she would have inevitably responded following immense backlash, apologizing for the incident, but also clarifying that the man who intervened wasn't actually part of her personal security team. Look, I'm gonna be real here. This is probably the dumbest, least consequential story I've ever covered on this channel, but I did think it was hilarious that the literal mayor of Rio intervened to say the Grammy-winning artist was no longer welcome to perform at Rio's music festival, and also stated that Shakira would never allow something like this to happen. To which Jorginho then responded to the mayor with heart emojis. Just incredible stuff all around. Forget DMac Daily, we're in our TMZ Daily era. Perfect timing with the international break approaching. Anyways, legends, that's all for today's show. I'll see you next time.